What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here with another video today. And today we're bringing you our Miami, Florida State preview prediction. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Let me reach that goal of 11,000 subs by the end of October. Check out the description for links to our shop, podcast, and website, and much more down there. We are about, I believe, 70 subs away. So let's get going on that. Only the second day of the month. So we got plenty of time to get there. But let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So Miami versus Florida State. Miami comes in ranked number 3 in the country. Florida State ranked number 18 in the country. Miami is favored in this one by 6.5. The over-under set at 54.5. We'll get back to that one here in a minute. But that game is this Saturday. It'll be the 7:30 game on ABC. You look at Miami so far this year, some good wins for them. Pretty good resume already as they come in 4-0. They got a week 1 win at home against Notre Dame, 27-24. Beat Bethune 45-3. Then beat 18th ranked South Florida 49-12, and then beat Florida 26-7. Then on the flip side for Florida State, they had a pretty solid season so far. Coming in at 3-1 week 1, they beat Alabama at home 31-17. They beat East Texas A&M 77-3. Beat Kent State 66-10, but lost last time out in overtime on the road at Virginia. So we'll see if this team is able to rebound from that loss against Virginia last time out in overtime. You look at the leaders for these teams. Carson Beck coming in 82 of 112 for 972 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. On the flip side, Castellanos 45 of 70, 848 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. The running backs, 2 very good running backs in this one as well, with Fletcher from Miami with 66 carries, 388 yards, 5 touchdowns on the year. And then the Oklahoma transfer, Gavin Sawchuk for the Seminoles with 42 carries, 234 yards, and 6 touchdowns on the season. And both these teams have a lot of dynamic playmakers on the outside as well. You look at their leading receivers. These are 2 of the best in the ACC, with Malachi Toney for Miami, 22 catches, 268 yards, and a touchdown. And Deuce Robinson from Florida State with 17 catches, 346 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Robinson, a huge deep threat target for Florida State. They like to get him the ball deep down the field and let him run past guys. This is going to be, I feel like, a very high offensive game as both these teams have elite offenses. They don't have bad defenses, but the offenses are elite and definitely the strong suit of both of these football teams. You look at the series history between this rivalry, Miami leads the all-time series 36-33. Florida State is 10-5 against Miami since 2010, though. And since 2000, both teams have won 6 games in Tallahassee. They're 6-6 in Tallahassee since 2000. So interesting stuff to watch here. It is a rivalry game. There will be a lot of hatred in this game. A lot of, I don't necessarily think there's going to be fights or stuff, but I'm sure there will be some extracurricular or a lot of the plays after the plays. A lot of stuff going on there. These 2 teams, they hate each other, and they usually like to make it pretty well known. The fans should be a great atmosphere in Florida State, especially with them starting to bounce back from last year, looking a lot better and a lot more promising to start off this year than they did last year. So the fans back into it, back believing. But let's get to my 3 keys of the game before we get to the score prediction. So first up, the first key is, can Florida State keep momentum and bounce back after a tough loss on the road versus Virginia? We know what happened to them last year. They ended up going 2-10. This year, they started off 3-0, good win against Alabama. Didn't really play anybody after that with East Texas A&M and Kent State. And then they went on the road to Virginia and lost in overtime. So I'm interested to see how this team responds to that overtime loss. The offense was not a problem in that game. It was most definitely the defense. If that's the case in this game, it's going to be a problem. The defense is going to have to step it up because Miami is going to score points, and they're a much better offense than Virginia is. Excuse me. So I'm interested to see, can Florida State get a bounce back? And even if they don't win, can they just come out and be competitive and play a good football game? Personally, I think they will. I think they can. I think Norvell's a good coach. I think the reason you see them go 2-10 last year is just kind of the way he builds his team. It's more leaned on the transfer portal than it is recruiting. So you're going to have some years where they go 13-0, followed by some years where they go 2-10, just depending on the transfers and the guys you're able to get in. But the one advantage to that versus recruiting is that it resets every year pretty much. You bring in a bunch of transfers, you go 2-10, great. Now most of them are gone. You bring in a bunch of new guys, see if they can do it. Not how I would particularly run my team, but it has some advantages, and Norvell's done a pretty decent job at doing that and maintaining that. Number 2, defenses have to keep the ball in front of them. Whichever defense can limit the explosive plays is going to have a very good chance at winning this. Their team is going to have a very good chance at winning this game. Both of these teams' offenses live off of the explosive plays deep down the field, and even in the running game as well. They've had some explosive plays in the running game, especially Florida State with Castellanos. That's a huge advantage for them. It's not rare to see him take off from the pocket and run for 35 yards down the field. So the defenses have to keep the ball in front of them and not give up the explosive plays. I think whichever team can limit that the most is probably going to be the team that comes away with the win. I do trust Miami more than I trust Florida State to have to go on long drives down the field to score. But I think both of these teams are capable, but there will be some big plays and a lot of explosiveness and a lot of big offensive plays, and whichever defense can limit that the most, I think is going to put their team in a very good position to win the game. Number 3, can FSU get pressure on Carson Beck and force him into tough throws? We've seen this throughout Carson Beck's entire career. If you let him drop back to pass, no pressure, he's going to shred you apart. But you see those mistakes and those bad mental errors and bad throws that lead to turnovers whenever you can get some sort of pressure on him and speed him up. Even if it's not necessarily hitting him or getting a sack, but just bringing a blitz, showing the threat of it. You can get it. It tends to speed him up and get him in tough situations. And I think if Florida State can do that, this Miami offense is going to struggle. But if Florida State can't do that, it's going to be a long day for that defense. And Florida State better hope their offense is clicking on all cylinders, because Carson Beck will light them up. And there's just too much talent on this Miami offense for them to give Carson Beck any time to throw whatsoever. And on the flip side of that, if you're Miami, you got to find a way to contain Castellanos and keep him in the pocket. He's a solid passer, but that's not the strength of his game. It's the running part that is the strength for him, and the making the plays with his legs and confusing the defense, making you honor that. So if Florida State if Miami's able to keep contain on him, I think that's the big thing that defense is going to, have to do, because that'll shut down a lot of Florida State's offense if they're able to contain Castellanos. But now to the score prediction. We mentioned earlier the spread is Miami minus 6.5. Florida State, the over-under at 54.5. So sitting here, I'm trying to come up with a score prediction for this one. I settled on Miami 34, Florida State 27. I think the Hurricanes are going to get the win. I just think they're a little bit of a better team. I think it will be closer with this game being at Florida State, but I do think Miami's the better team. And I think Florida State's going to bounce back and keep it close, but I don't think they have what it takes to pull out the win. I have Miami 34-27, which would barely cover the spread at 7 points, and it would hit the over on the total. But that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Give me your score predictions in the comments, and we will see you guys next time.